Hey, so if you're experiencing being sick, and oftentimes you are sick and you get chills and you're tired, but you have no fever, that is a sign that something potentially might be wrong. You need to be mounting a fever in order to overcome an infection. And the first line of defense, a lot of us think, is that we reach for Tylenol and suppress the fever. Well, you can't be doing that. So I'm going to be sharing a research paper here for you right now that's going to be displaying some pretty amazing stuff. And I'm going to show it to you now. Okay, so I got my chat open so you can go ahead and comment if needed, and turn the volume down too. My son's trying to rent a house in California, and so he's calling me. Um, so again, in short, you want a fever if you're trying to overcome an infection. And sometimes fever or infections are so mild that your body doesn't even want to deal with it, and your natural killer cells will just munch it and you don't even know that you had it. I mean, that's why a lot of people are asymptomatic with some of these viruses going around. However, if those viruses replicate to get to a higher number, then the immune system says, hey, there's quite a bit of infection here. I need to mount a response in order to kill it. Now, I'm going to be showing you some evidence from a phenomenal paper I was thinking about showing you at the end, but I'm going to show you right now. There's something in your body that if it's too low, you cannot mount a response for a fever. And I had no idea about this. And when I read this, I was thinking, wow, this explains a lot of why so many people who do not mount a fever response tend to be sick for a long, long time. So, do you have any idea what that nutrient can be in your body that if it's too low, you won't mount a fever? What do you think? Looking at your comments here. So, if this component is too low in your body, you will not mount a fever, and it's a problem. All right, there's a delay possibly. DAO, good thought. No, it is not DAO. DAO is diamine oxidase, and that is a compound that processes histamine. It is not DAO. So if your DAO levels are sufficient or low or what have you, fever will still occur from about this. Not magnesium, not vitamin D. Great guess on vitamin D, but it is not vitamin D. Yeah, so Roxanne has only had a low-grade fever for 99 for about a minute, and she's still not getting fever. Leah, Leah nailed it. Glutathione. That's right. Glutathione it is. Look here. Levels of glutathione indicate that fever develops only when the glutathione level is within the normal range. Both lowering and raising its level are mechanisms of blocking the development of fever. Wow. So glutathione has got to be in the sweet spot. So oftentimes I say, if you're sick, don't reach for glutathione. But it all depends, right? With everything. So this is just another point. So your glutathione levels have to be in the sweet spot. But if you are, say you're an elite athlete, or you're just training, or you're overtraining, you're trying to lose weight and you've been running a lot, your oxidative stress levels are going to be really high or higher, and your glutathione levels are going to be lower. So then your ability to mount an immune response via fever is going to be diminished. So when they say healthy people are dying from certain infections, well, what's healthy mean? Just because someone is a marathon runner or an athlete or a football player or elite basketball player or elite soccer player or whatever, or just a person who runs, their glutathione levels can be really low, and then they can't mount the immune response, and the fever doesn't get triggered. And if the fever doesn't get triggered, then people get sick because the virus continues to replicate in higher numbers and causing more inflammation. So the immune system is exquisitely sensitive not only to glutathione deficiency, but also to an excess of glutathione. So when everybody reaches for supplements when they're sick or trying to prevent getting sick, I talk about the pulse method all the time. And I talk about it. There's one diagram in the book, Dirty Genes. One. And let's see if I can pull it up for you. And it's extremely important. If you're not following the pulse method, supplements are not going to work for you. Supplement is defined as to add to or enhance. Okay? So let me share this. See this? That's the pulse method. Okay? So the pulse method, I should take a screenshot, a photo, and load that and discuss it sometime on a video. I will. Okay? But the pulse method is basically stating if you feel bad or you're deficient in a particular nutrient, then you supplement. Okay? And you experience improvement with this arrow. Okay? Sorry, I bashed my finger with a hammer. Okay? When you feel you get improvement, you stop. Okay? You feel bad if you get too much of a nutrient. So that's page 219 of this book. If you've been following my work for a while and you still do not have a copy of Dirty Genes, wow, come on. I think Dirty Genes is translated in like 15 languages. So there's hardly any excuses anymore. I got the Russian edition right here. So it's, yeah, my wife is Russian. That's why. So let me share some more stuff for you. Okay. Where am I getting this? So in the description below, I've got the link to this research paper. And I also have a link to the glutathione supplement available at Seeking Health if you need to get some glutathione. So if you are not able to mount a fever, you need to ask yourself, are my glutathione levels too low or are they too high? So oftentimes in this population, well, global population, glutathione levels tend to be lower. However, in the population of individuals such as yourself who follow my work, you might be supplementing with glutathione or N-acetylcysteine and actually inhibiting your fever development. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at some questions before I move on here. Giant 2852, you thought glutathione needs to be lowered to trigger an immune response. Yeah, it's well, let me answer that question right here. So where is it? This is a very good statement right here. See that? Fever is dependent upon redox status. Fever is a response to oxidative stress. So yeah, you're right in a sense that fever is a response to oxidative stress, and it needs to be, it's got to be in a sweet spot. Too low, you're not going to get a fever, and too high, you're not going to get a fever. Okay. Hey, Roxanne. Amanda, should you take PQQ? All depends. But PQQ is a very safe antioxidant. So let me let's go up to the beginning here. Okay. So again, this is the paper, New Insights into the Role of Glutathione in the Mechanism of Fever. So I'm going to be sharing the highlight. I've read this paper in full 2 to 3 times, and I've highlighted the key bits. Okay. If you're believing that fever is something that needs to be squished, it's not. You need fever. Fever is very, very effective. And so fever is part of the response known as acute phase reaction, which triggers it's triggered by microbial factors. And then right here, although there is a negative attitude regarding fever, the increase in body temperature is actually an important alarm signal. It is shown in many cases that infectious fever is beneficial for healing. The fever-induced mechanism boosts the effectiveness of the immune system against various infections. Okay, So fever is considered beneficial because it enhances the activity of immune factors and cells. And then here, this is a really important point. Evidence from clinical studies indicates there is an association between body temperature and survival of infected patients. Listen up. Reducing temperature, i.e. stopping the fever with Tylenol. So reducing the temperature during infection may be harmful because fever in critically ill patients with an infection is associated, with increased risk of death. So if you are diminishing the fever or you have a weak fever, critically ill patients with an infection without a fever or with a low fever or with reducing a fever have an increased risk of death. So you've got to be supporting fever. Children who had chickenpox who were treated with Tylenol were shown to take a longer time for total curing of lesions than placebo-controlled placebo controls. Okay. So human volunteers infected with influenza, basically the flu, showed a relationship between taking Tylenol or anti-fever medications and prolonged illness. What are you seeing today? What are you seeing today? You are seeing people struggling with long haul symptoms. And how many of those individuals were taking Tylenol or were suppressing fever, or, as we're discussing right now, did not have the ability to mount a fever because they were either too low in glutathione or too high? Very doubtful that a lot of people are too high in glutathione, especially those individuals with the multiple comorbidities. Diabetes. So individuals with diabetes have very low glutathione because diabetes, the blood sugar, is very, very pro-oxidative. Cardiovascular disease, horribly low in glutathione for the most point. So in obesity, same thing. Being obese is a lot of inflammation and low glutathione. So it's all these, and there's paper after paper talking about this viral infection and low glutathione levels and morbidity. So and part of it could be having to do with them not mounting a fever. In spite of the evidence, surprisingly, for the benefits of fever, the prevailing practice in the general population is to block fever by taking antipyretic drugs, i.e. Tylenol or NSAIDs of any type. Man, the Washington Department of Health, right here, my own beautiful state, the first recommendation that they have is if you get diagnosed with this viral infection, first thing is to take Tylenol and go home and be comfortable. That's what they say. If you get worse, well, go to the hospital. Man, horrible. Okay, so this is just a lot of science stuff that you don't really care about. So what are antipyretics? They're basically medications that determine the upper limit of a fever, and they can inhibit it completely. So examples are NSAIDs, Tylenol, and steroids. Okay, so many of you asked me if you can be taking Motrin or Advil or aspirin. This paper is saying since many NSAID-induced side effects are known, anti-fever medication should be used for specific indications and not for fever per se. So this paper is actually pretty against dropping fever with medications. So many of you are asking me, what other things could I be taking besides Tylenol to lower my fever? Well, maybe you should use higher amounts of glutathione. And there's another supplement that you could possibly be taking to lower fever. Okay, so if fever is dependent on redox status and fever is a response to oxidative stress, it makes sense, right? If glutathione is your body's principal, right here, glutathione is your body's principal intracellular antioxidant buffer. So if fever is a response to oxidative stress, you want to have a little bit of oxidative stress to get the fever stimulated. And if you don't have any oxidative stress because there's too much glutathione on board, well, that oxidative stress isn't going to happen. So potentially you could actually lower fever by supplementing with glutathione. And there's another compound, which I'll share here in a second. Here is your glutathione synthesis requiring cysteine. N-acetylcysteine is that component, but a lot of people think that you can just take N-acetylcysteine and you make glutathione. Look, N-acetylcysteine is not glutathione. N-acetylcysteine is cysteine. That's it. You also need glycine, and you need magnesium for this cell to function, and you need these two particular genes, GS and GCL, to be functioning. And so N-acetylcysteine does not equal glutathione. I will discuss that later in a different video. So glutathione is your body's principal intracellular antioxidant. Deficiency of it causes cellular risk for oxidative damage, and thus, as expected, glutathione imbalance is observed in a wide range of disease states. And I'm not going to state these disease states because I can't, but you can read. All right. So when you use glutathione, this is an important point. So here is glutathione right here. So you use glutathione, you swallow it, it gets used by the glutathione peroxidase gene, which I discuss in here, and then it becomes damaged glutathione. Damaged glutathione is damaging. It's a problem. So your body has to recycle it with the glutathione reductase enzyme right here. And if you can't do that, then you've got issues. So here's me, okay? This is my genetic pathway. And here is glutathione right here. So glutathione here's your cysteine. And it has to go through this particular gene. Whoops. Sorry. But if your glutathione gets damaged, then you've got issues and it's going to be a problem. So glutathione gets used up, converts hydrogen peroxide into water, but it becomes damaged glutathione, red. Okay, red is bad. In order to recycle it, you need sufficient riboflavin. Riboflavin recycles damaged glutathione back into healthy glutathione. Okay, so if a lot of people take glutathione and they get side effects, then that's an issue. So let me show you something here. That's why there is a riboflavin, 10 milligrams, in our glutathione plus product. Okay, so we have other glutathiones, but we don't have the riboflavin in the optimal glutathione. Right here, optimal glutathione, there's no riboflavin, it's just glutathione. So if you are supplementing with glutathione and you do not feel well from it, well, maybe it's just a glutathione, or you're creating too much damaged glutathione, oxidized glutathione, and you need more riboflavin. Okay, so let's get back to that paper. Look at some questions here. Sauna. Be careful with sauna. If your fever is lower than 100 degrees. So when I got sick with this viral infection, my fever was pretty weak, and probably because I was taking too much glutathione. So I actually got in the sauna and drove up my temperature. And I didn't take my temperature after. I probably should have, but it was probably 101. Then, it wasn't too high. So, but if your fever is like 101, 102, don't get into a sauna. So glutathione, I did not realize this. Glutathione exerts a key role in a series of immune processes. So it does a lot of things, okay? So I'm not going to get into it. So bottom line of this video is to say that your glutathione levels have to be in a sweet spot in order to mount a fever. Too much or too little, you're not going to get it. So the immune system is highly affected by the levels of glutathione in the body. Now, think about that for a moment. If the immune system is highly affected by the level of glutathione in the body, and the immune system is highly affected by the levels of vitamin D in the body and zinc in the body, why in the hell are we not talking about this? Well, we all know the answer, but God, it's just amazing. And so individuals who are obese, who have diabetes, high blood sugar, hypertension, stressed out all the time, they have low D and they have low glutathione. It's just how it is. And the darker your skin, the lower your vitamin D. So glutathione affects the key factors involved in the mechanism of fever. Okay, so you get all that, but I want to share one more thing here. So a decrease in glutathione level led to a decrease in body temperature in rats. Decreased body temperature by 2 to 3 degrees. So if you are that type of person who is always running a low body temperature, maybe it's not always your thyroid, right? That's the first thing, is like, oh, your low body temperature, it's my thyroid. Well, maybe it's your redox status. Maybe your redox status is off. Maybe you're low glutathione. Maybe you should be reaching for some glutathione supplementation of liposomal or acetylglutathione in capsules. IV glutathiones make me a little bit nervous because it's just too much. I don't think you should do too much of it. So, growing body of direct evidence showing that fever may be a glutathione sensitive mechanism. Paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Again, the link to this research paper is in the description below. Now, this is something that I also didn't know about. Administration of N-acetylcysteine before the induction of an infectious or aseptic fever significantly inhibited both of them. The antipyretic properties of N-acetylcysteine were not previously known. So N-acetylcysteine is another thing which may be reached for in times of a fever getting too high. Now, again, this is a research paper. I have not tried this on myself. I've not tried this on patients. Doctors I don't think know about this. In fact, this paper is calling for it right here. So all this stuff, you can look at all this stuff later. Where is it? It is necessary to realize that patients taking N-acetylcysteine will not be feverish, which can alter the patient's true picture of the disease. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that, and I'm in biochemistry all the time. So I bet you very few doctors and health professionals know this sentence right here. It is necessary to realize that patients taking N-acetylcysteine will not be feverish, which can alter the patient's true picture of the disease. You have to be able to mount a fever to overcome it, overcome the infection. If you cannot mount a fever to overcome the infection will be low grade, persistent, and long term. You have to raise your core body temperature and get it up so you will kill the infection. If you have been struggling for a long time with this thing and you did not mount a fever, or your fever was wimpy, or it was short term, or you reduced it with Tylenol or other things, well, you damn well better get into a sauna and jack up your body temperature once you are strong enough to do so. You gotta, in the description, I will link, I haven't done it yet, but I will link to a sauna protocol, which I've developed, because when I first started getting into a sauna, it was not good. In search of 76, you're 62, hypothyroid, low body temp, controlled type 2. Excellent, well done. Should glutathione be a supplement you should be adding to your arsenal? Glutathione could be a supplement that you should add to your arsenal. I would say glutathione for all of us should be in your shelves at home. I basically use my supplements as first aid. When my kids get sick, I open the drawer and I pull stuff out. If I'm tired, I open the drawer and I pull stuff out. If I'm stressed out, anxious, low mood, high mood, whatever, I pull the drawer and I pull stuff out. People can come over to my house and they'll see me opening the drawer and like, damn, you got a lot of stuff in there. It's like, well, yeah, but I don't take it all. I only take it when I need it. And so it's good to have a variety of supplements in your supplement arsenal. So when you do need it, you have it. I cannot tell you how many times I get DMs from people saying, I just got sick. How fast can you ship? Or I just got sick. I ordered this stuff and it won't be here for 2 to 3 days, or I'm too sick to go to my mailbox, or X, Y, and Z, and I fall into that as well. I'm not always planned to have the supplements that I need at home, because usually I'm always giving them away to people when they come here. And so our own stash is depleted. But speaking of which, I got a shipment coming. It still hasn't arrived yet. So I got to see what's going on with that. But maintain an arsenal in your supplement shelf. Some good ones to have are PQQ, electrolytes, vitamin A, vitamin C, glutathione, multivitamins, probiotics, there's a arsenal of things. And do you take them every day? No, you take them when you need to. So being a low fever, type 2 controlled diabetic, 62 years old, yes, I would be having glutathione in your cupboard. You took N-acetylcysteine and it helped a lot. Yeah, for sure. Glutathione can help a lot too. And again, it's a sweet spot. You got to find that sweet spot. So you got to find it. Should you stay away from antibiotics if you have the viral infection? I don't know. It all depends on your situation. Sometimes it can lead to pneumonia, a viral pneumonia, a bacterial pneumonia, and antibiotics could be useful, or any type of other bacterial infection. Some doctors recommend it, and it works. Yeah, so Roxanne just took her temperature, 97.3. Yeah, it's, my temperature is low, and there's probably genetic reasons for variations in temperatures as well. And metabolically and so on. There's lots of reasons for a body temperature. I mean, I don't know where 98.6 actually came from. Who knows what the true body temperature should be. I think it depends on a lot of reasons, and I haven't looked into it fully. But the bottom line of today's video is to make sure that if you're not mounting a fever, you need to. And if you have one, don't crush it. And if your fever is too high, maybe reach for N-acetylcysteine or glutathione instead. And that is a maybe. And that's just based upon the research that I provided you here today. I have not experienced it. I have not tried it. And I've not heard of other doctors doing it. This research paper is pretty adamant that doctors need to realize that if patients are taking N-acetylcysteine, it could lower their fever to the point of not even having it. So that is very interesting to me. So I'm going to head out and go hiking with my wife now. Go ahead and comment below. Unfortunately, I think our chat gets deleted when I finally publish this, which I think is kind of dumb. But go ahead and comment after I hit end on this video. And do subscribe, hit like if you do like these videos, and share with others. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel here because I love sharing these research papers, and there's just more and more research out there that is being read to you all and digested. And if you're looking for glutathione supplements, you can find it at seekinghealth.com. And remember, you gotta have the sweet amount. If you're taking too much, back off. If you're not taking enough, add more. Take care.